day 2 of trying to work with the TH35, and so now I got the bands cut off. I got that opened up. So now it's taken out of the crate, and I'd like to be able to use this crate to be able to store this. So the skid steer would come in and pick it up from here. And I'm wondering, you know, if I cut it off low down here and maybe keep it up high so that as you bring it into this, you could set it down in it and tilt it forward a little bit. I mean, I may have to build a rack, but I think as an experiment, I'm just going to cut this off here and cut it off on the back side, and maybe I can actually use this to hold this when I'm not using it. So we'll see. So this is the side the skid steer would come in and put its teeth under and lift it up. And so I think the mounting plate can just tilt it in there and then lift it up. And the part I cut off, I think if I just put a few screws underneath there, that'll actually keep the plate from tipping over if I push too hard with the skid steer. So I think I have a little stand for my skid steer. And here you can see the angle indicator and then a little bubble level to see when you're tilted into real angle versus angle relative to the skid steer. So looking forward to this. I have to apologize. I am such a rookie operator. It just takes me forever to hook up attachments. So this is painful to watch, I know. My intent was to be able to go in there and just lift this straight up. I am much better about putting on my tooth bucket. I can do it a bit faster, but I am still learning. And I think one of the things I need to do, comment if you know better, is I probably need to do the connections at low RPMs, because I think the machine's responding just a little too fast, and I'm not, you know, good enough of an operator yet. And maybe at lower RPMs, it'll turn a little slower. I can get things lined up a little better, but it's painful to watch, I know, so bear with me. Well, that didn't work. And what I'm trying to do is protect these hoses, and it landed right on the hose. So I don't know what, if it's just too tight in there, probably. So I guess I'm gonna have to get it out of the wood and figure out something else to be able to come in at it and pick it up. This is painful when you don't have experience and there's no guidance in the menu is the best way to get it out. So more experimenting. I won't bore you with that. All right, I've got it braced up. These hydraulic hoses are actually cabled in there. I can't get at it because of how the pallet's set up. So I got to lift it up and kind of get it tilted up this way so I can actually free the hydraulic hoses. So little by little, we'll get there. So what I've determined is I'm going to need some kind of stand that can hold this. You know, a bucket can lay flat on the ground and you can just go pick it up. Grapples, same thing. But this plate is literally just a vertical steel plate, so it won't stand up on its own. I don't think you're supposed to lay it completely flat on the ground and try and picking it up that way. Again, the manual doesn't say exactly. So I think I'm going to have to build kind of like a little angled framework there so that it can be leaned over at about maybe a 25-degree angle over, so I can just reach in and pick it up. Success! But this is definitely going to be a tricky attachment to get on and off, because it's not like the bucket where it can freestand. So if you've got suggestions on how to hold it, that would be helpful. But now I can get these bands cut off under here and get the hydraulics set, get it greased, and then we'll see how it works. Thanks. So there was a manual for this. It was actually tucked in a plastic bag up underneath the bottom side of this. So we got the hydraulics out. We'll be able to hook these up in a little bit, but I'm going to read the manual. There's actually places we need to grease, and then we actually have to get in there and bleed open the hydraulics. And that is going to be a heck of a challenge. So I'm definitely going to have to read more details here before we can even start to use this. So as usual, read the manual. It's the Tilt Hitch. Read it early and read it in the air conditioning, because it's like 93 degrees out here. It's brutal. The tilt actually seems to be working in the opposite direction that I would think it would for the auxiliary hydraulic control. So I'm going to have to contact them and see if maybe the hoses got installed opposite or something's not quite right, because if I push it one way, it actually tilts in the opposite direction. So maybe I'm thinking about it backwards, or maybe one of the hoses, we just need to flip-flop the two hoses at the tilt plate so it'll tilt the way you push the knob. Just wanted to show you what I see from my side. Is you can see that there is a bubble level, and I'm not currently level myself. The skid steer itself is actually a little bit out of level. So when I'm at 0 on the bottom indicator there, my bubble in the level might be very hard for you to see there, but it is not level. And that's just because the skid steer is not level. So this angle on the big white indicator is just relative to the skid steer itself. And I've got the RPMs down low, so and in turtle mode, and still the hydraulics a little touchy, if you were trying to do something very precise. But let's go give this a try on an area where I've had some trouble setting grade because it's so narrow and I can't move, and we'll try it up there. Let's go. So on the left side of your screen is the uphill side, and what I need is a small gully running along that left-hand side of your screen there, so that as the water comes down the hill, it never crosses the road. So I really have tried to get in here before, but it's very narrow. The trees are right up to the edge, and I can just barely turn the loader around here. So setting grade has been a challenge. So now I can just set the bucket and start to take out some of this and have a gully that will be on the uphill side, keeping the water off the road. It's a little easier to see here, but the edge of the bucket was, into the hill on the one side towards the uphill side on the left, and on the right-hand side was actually not touching the road at all. And that's exactly what I was trying to achieve, is to get, the dirt away from the left-hand side and not touch the crest of the road. I still haven't really developed my touch control on the right pitch of the bucket, even when I'm not using a tilt plate. So, it is a skill you have to learn over time to figure out the right amount of angle to have the bucket at, plus how low to have it down to the ground. So I've seen different techniques. Some people lower it all the way to the ground. Some have it just slightly up and then tilt it forward. Obviously, I'm using a toothed bucket here, so it's going to be pretty aggressive at hauling out dirt. But as you can see, I can now cut with that one edge of the bucket fairly easily, and the center of the road remains untouched, which over time, of course, gives me that uphill gully for draining the water. I did a little bit of experimenting with, how much of an angle to put on it. Really, it doesn't need to be a sharp angle. Just 2 to 6% was more than enough. I guess there could be occasions where I would set it all the way to 20, but really this little bit at a time I think will work best. I just need a lot more time operating it to see, what'll work best in different conditions. Here you can more clearly see that the edge of the bucket towards the center of the screen is, off the ground and not taking any dirt whatsoever, and I'm just cutting in my gully. Well, I don't know how much you can tell from the camera, but you know, after just a little bit of work, it is so much easier to get the grade going the way you want with the blade tilted. Experimenting between 2, 4, and 6 degrees tilt, which isn't much, but I don't need a lot here. I just want it to stay to the uphill side so that the road stays dry, and I think it's going to make a big difference. I'll have to get a camera mount so I can run the camera from inside the cab so you can see, but it is really making a difference already. It's only a few minutes worth of using it, but for a rookie operator like me that has trouble setting a grade on the road, this is going to be a lot of help for me. Hope you enjoy. If you've got some insights that you know about the TH35, leave them in the comments. I am open to as much help as you're willing to offer. Have a great day.